You are not imagining it, and you are not weak. If there is a narcissist in your life, there is a good chance they spent months, sometimes years, convincing you to believe otherwise. Little by little, they taught you to question yourself, to question your memory, to question your feelings, to question your instincts. Eventually, you stopped asking whether their behavior was healthy and started asking whether something was wrong with you. That is how the trap works. Not through force, not through obvious control, but through confusion. A confusion so constant that you slowly lose trust in the one person you should trust most, yourself. And that is why I need you to hear this before we go any further. You were not broken. You were targeted. There is a difference. A broken person believes they caused the damage. A targeted person realizes the damage was intentional. That realization changes everything. Because narcissists rarely create chaos by accident. They study patterns. They notice what matters to you. They learn what makes you feel guilty, responsible, or afraid of disappointing people. Then they quietly build their influence around those weaknesses. By the time you notice something feels wrong, they are already shaping the way you think about yourself. Today, we are going to reverse that process. Not with anger, not with revenge, and not by trying to beat them at their own game. Instead, we are going to look at 5 quiet tactics that slowly weaken the control they have over you. None of them look dramatic, but each one takes back a piece of your freedom. And the last one may be the most important lesson you ever learn. A narcissist does not need truth from you. They need a reaction. Your frustration feeds them. Your explanations feed them. Your panic, your long messages, your desperate need to be understood. All of it tells them they still have access to your emotions. That is why arguing rarely works. You may bring facts. You may speak calmly. You may explain the same point 10 different ways. But if they can pull energy out of you, they have already won the moment. So your first tactic is simple. Become boring to control. This is the gray rock method. Not rude, not dramatic, not cold. Just emotionally unavailable as a source of fuel. When they provoke you, answer briefly. When they twist your words, stay neutral. When they throw out a comment designed to make you defend yourself, do not perform for them. Say less. React less. Give them nothing interesting to hold. At first, they may push harder. That does not mean it is failing. It often means the old strategy is losing power. Stay calm, stay flat, stay consistent. Because gray rock is not about punishing them. It is about protecting you. Every time you refuse to react, you teach your nervous system a new truth. Not every accusation needs a defense, and not every trap deserves your energy. The moment you stop feeding the fire starts dying. One of the biggest mistakes people make with a narcissist is arguing too fast. The moment something feels wrong, they rush to defend themselves. They explain. They justify. They try to prove their point. And somehow, 30 minutes later, they find themselves apologizing for something they never did. Sound familiar? That is because narcissistic manipulation depends on speed. The story changes quickly. The blame moves quickly. The pressure builds quickly. And before you have time to think, you are already reacting. So instead of arguing, slow everything down. Use one simple question. Can you help me understand that better? That question sounds harmless, but it creates a problem for anyone relying on confusion. Because confusion survives in motion, it struggles under inspection. When you calmly ask someone to explain their reasoning, something interesting happens. The conversation stops moving forward. Now they have to slow down. They have to clarify. They have to connect the dots. And very often, that is where the cracks begin to show. Not because you exposed them, because they exposed themselves. The goal is not to catch them in a lie. The goal is to stay grounded in reality. Keep your voice calm. Keep your face neutral. Stay curious instead of defensive. If their explanation makes sense, you learn something useful. If it falls apart, you learn something even more important. Either way, you gain clarity. And clarity is dangerous to manipulation. Because the moment you stop reacting and start observing, you are no longer trapped inside their story. You are finally seeing it from the outside. There is a special kind of damage that happens when someone keeps telling you your memory is wrong. Not once, not during a normal disagreement, but over and over again. They say you are too sensitive. You imagined it. You misunderstood. You always make things bigger than they are. And after enough time, something inside you starts to bend. You stop trusting your own mind. That is why the third tactic is simple. Keep a record of reality. Not to attack them. Not to build a dramatic case. To protect yourself. After a strange conversation, write down what happened, what was said, when it happened, how you felt, what changed from the last version of the story. Use your phone. Use a notebook. Record a short voice memo for yourself. Keep it factual, quiet, consistent, because gaslighting works best when everything stays blurry. A record brings the blur back into focus. And here's the most important part. You may never need to show anyone. The record is not a sword. It is a shield. Every time you write down the truth, you tell your nervous system, I was there. I remember. My experience is real. And slowly, your confidence returns. Not loudly, not all at once, but steadily. And once your truth becomes stable again, their version of reality loses power. That is when the fog starts lifting. If this is helping you see your situation more clearly, subscribe now. And comment, I see clearly now. Not for the algorithm, for yourself. Because naming the truth is often the first moment you stop living inside someone else's lie. A narcissist does not only try to control your emotions, they try to shrink your world. Slowly. They question your friends. They make your family seem unsafe. They mock your hobbies. They make small comments that sound harmless at first, but over time, those comments create distance between you and everything that used to make you feel alive. That is not love. That is isolation. Because a person with support is harder to control. A person with options is harder to trap. A person with a life outside the narcissist is already halfway free. So your fourth tactic is this. Start rebuilding a life they cannot control. Quietly text the friend you stopped answering. Say yes to the dinner you kept avoiding. Return to the hobby they made you feel silly for loving. Choose one small thing each week that belongs only to you. Do not announce it. Do not explain it. Just begin. Every healthy connection becomes a witness to your real self. Every new routine becomes proof that your life is bigger than their opinion. And every part of you they cannot access becomes a place where your freedom grows. You do not always have to fight your way out. Sometimes you grow your way out until the cage becomes too small to hold you. This is the quietest tactic, and probably the hardest one. Stop trying to make the narcissist understand what they did to you. I know why you keep trying. You want one honest moment, one real apology, one sign that they finally see the pain they caused. So you explain again. You choose better words. You replay the conversation in your head. You write the message, delete it, then write it again. But here is the painful truth. They usually already understand more than they admit. Their confusion is often a performance, because as long as you keep explaining, you keep returning to them for recognition. And as long as you need their recognition, they still have emotional power over you. That is the chain. Not love, not hope. The need for them to finally say, "Yes, I hurt you." Freedom begins when you stop waiting for that sentence, not because what happened was okay, not because they were right, but because your healing cannot depend on the person who benefited from your confusion. You do not need them to validate your pain for your pain to be real. You do not need them to agree with your truth for your truth to stand. The day you stop needing them to understand is the day their control starts collapsing. Not loudly, not dramatically, quietly, because you finally take your need back. And that is what they cannot handle. None of this will feel easy at first. A narcissist did not build control over you in one day. It happened slowly, one doubt at a time, one apology you did not owe, one truth you were taught to question. So healing will also happen slowly. One calm response, one honest record, one friend you reach back toward, one moment where you choose peace instead of explaining. And if you are tired, remember this. The fact that you are still here means something in you is already fighting for you. That part of you is not gone. It may be quieter now, but it is still there. Every time you stop feeding the chaos, you get closer to finding it again. Become the gray rock they cannot excite. Ask the question that slows the lie. Protect your truth. Build your life wider than their control. Stop waiting for them to understand. For you,